Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Whole You podcast. I said welcome back for all of those that were hanging out with me in last week's pod. And then I want to welcome all of you all. And this is your first time. I'm so glad that you're here. I hope that you stay the whole time. And my hope is that if you're new for this one, that when this one is done, you will go back and watch the previous one so that you can be up to date with what we have going on. But I'm so excited to just be hanging out with you today. So what we're going to talk about today is I want to give you a little bit of information about me and why I think that therapy is so important. It's been important to me. And if you follow me on Instagram, which I hope that you do, at Kalita Forbes, you'll see that I started giving a lot of personal information on my Instagram page. So ironically, family, nobody had ever seen my parents before. It's funny. It's like, I don't know if people thought I had parents, but I just had never posted them on social media. So if you go back on my page around the month of September, 2024, you'll see that I started posting my mom and my dad. And I went back to my hometown of Brooklyn. Cute air horns. And so I just wanted to create a community on this podcast where we feel free to share our stories. And I didn't want to ask you guys to share your stories with me if I wasn't willing to share mine with you. And so that's why I did that. And I'm going to do that just for a couple of minutes before we jump into our first segment today. And so I am a clinical therapist. For those that do not know, I've been doing therapy for over 25 years now. It's my passion. I feel like it's my calling. I love human behavior. I'm a social scientist, and I love being able to assist people that are hurting so that they can experience healing. And I know the power of that because I experienced it in my own personal life. And so I'm sitting here right now today like a smooth size 12-ish, depending on what I'm eating. I'm pretty healthy. I watch what I eat. But there was a time in my life where I was actually very, very overweight. Genetically, weight is an issue in my family. I low-key have a huge problem with people who have skinny genetics. We do not like you guys because you guys can eat Popeye's chicken every day and go about your business. As for me and my family line, if I eat one chicken wing from Popeye's just once in a week, I could possibly be in a larger dress size. So pray for me. But I was carrying a lot of weight over the course of my life. And I realized that at a certain point, it wasn't just genetics, but I think that I was eating as a way to comfort myself. I was eating when I felt overwhelmed. And so when I was around 25 years old, I had gotten to the point where I was over 300 pounds. And I'm going to try to see if I can find a picture and we'll drop it in here. But to give you a visual, I was about to max out of Lane Bryant. How do you max out of Lane Bryant, y'all? I don't know. I think Lane Bryant goes up to 28. And when I went into that Lane Bryant, in Pentagon City Mall, and I put on those size 28 slacks and they did not fit, I stood in the dressing room like, where shall I go? Lord, where, if I max out of Lane Bryant, where I'm supposed to go? Fam, I was just like, Kalita, what are you doing? This has gotten out of control. And I was like, I need to do something. And so, ironically, there were a lot of people that I knew at the time. And again, this was literally like over 20 years ago. And they had started signing up for something called LA Weight Loss. And it was a huge company. They had like LA Light bars and the juices, and it was like this big thing that just hit like as a diet craze. But it really worked. A lot of my line sisters had done it and had lost like over 75 pounds. And so there was a new one that opened up in Mitchellville, Maryland. And shout out to Maryland. That's where I live now. And I went on a Tuesday and I signed up to start LA Weight Loss. But what's interesting is that when I signed up, I realized that I was possibly going to need to do something in addition to just making sure that I had a certain amount of protein, a certain amount of vegetables. I knew that I could possibly have some other things that were going on when I was like binge eating, if you will. And so I have a friend that told me about a therapist. Ironically, family, this therapist's office was about 2 blocks down from where the LA Weight Loss was. So I went, signed up for LA Weight Loss, and then I reached out to this clinician and I set up what was my first therapy appointment. So now at this juncture, because I went to college early, I had been doing therapy like full time as a profession for like about 3 years. Because remember, like I'm still young at this point. And so one of the things that I will never forget about going into that therapist's office is waiting in the waiting area. And when she was ready for me to come in, I remember walking into her office and sitting down on her couch. And she had red as like the color scheme for aspects of her office. Her couch was red. It was a leather couch. And I sat in that couch, and I have never in my life to that day, and have not since that day, felt as vulnerable as I felt when I sat on that couch. And what's so interesting is that it helped me as a clinician moving forward, because I realized how other people felt when they came into my office. I felt judged, and she had not judged me because the session hadn't started. I felt exposed and naked, but I was not naked because I fully had clothes on. And I knew that I was going to have to open myself up in ways that I wasn't prepared to, but I knew that my soul needed it. And so my clinician that I had at that time did not waste any time. She didn't do a warm-up session. And what's wild is that God always knows exactly what we need. And God knows that I don't need a warm-up. I needed somebody to just come with the real off the break. And that's what my clinician did. And we started in, and she put a clean mirror in front of me. And I tell people all the time, that's what therapists do. Therapists create a safe environment. We are bound by confidentiality. And what we do is put a mirror in front of people that is not distorted. So you guys know that if you go to an amusement park, that they have something called like fun mirrors. And sometimes it'll make you look taller than you are or like wider than you are. It's a fun mirror. And so there's something in that mirror that distorts the image because that's not really what you look like, right? When a therapist is working with you, our goal is to put in front of you the reality of what you're experiencing, the reality of what you have experienced, so that the distortions that you have in your mind of what something is, which we normally do as humans, they're called defense mechanisms. We, in this moment, can confront the reality of our soul's condition. and have somebody to just simply unearth that in a way that is not judgmental. And so that's what that therapist did for me at that moment. And we began to go back through my experiences that I had when I was a child, the things that I experienced growing up as a teenager, and how those things imprinted on some of the decisions that I was making in my late teens and through my college years. And I'm so grateful that I went, because I was able to begin to formulate who I wanted to be as a woman, if that makes sense. That I wasn't focused on what my parents thought I should be or what culture thought I should be. My clinician gave me the courage to find my voice, to find Kalita, and to be at peace with who I am, so that I could show up authentically in the world, and so that the things that are destined for me can find me, because I'm not presenting in the world as if I am somebody that I am not. Therapy changed my life. Counseling changed my life. And so I want to encourage those of you all that have never done it to do it. Try it. I want to encourage you, for those that started and then stopped because it got too difficult. I want to encourage you to continue to push past that difficulty, because when it got difficult, it's because that was the area that your breakthrough was going to come in. And so I just wanted to quickly share with you why I think that therapy is so powerful. Mental health is so powerful, not just because I do it by vocation, but because I haven't just been a practitioner. I've actually been a client. Okay. All right. And so, family, listen, let's jump into our first segment for today. You guys know I'm going to remind you a couple of times that we have segments on this Whole You Pod. And remember, our podcast is a podcast where culture meets wellness. So we're going to talk about a culture code, and a culture code is just the code, the cheat code, if you will, that I'm going to give for something that is popping off in culture. And we're going to dig down and look at what could really be going on. And so today's culture code is Cardi B announced her divorce to her husband. What's her husband's name again? Offset. God bless you, Offset. The same day she announced they are having a baby. Y'all, I have never seen somebody announce a divorce and a baby on the way at the same time. I think that there was a strategic reason why Cardi decided to do that. I think that Cardi, especially as of recent, has been attempting to try to exert like authority, or almost trying to like grab her power back. I think that Cardi was not expecting the blow up that happened with her. I think that she was excited when it happened. But I don't think that she herself was expecting it. What was the name of her song that blew her up? Oh my gosh. Bodak Yellow. How did that song go? I don't, that's not how. Is it? Dun, are y'all sure? I Make Money Move sounds like a more recent Cardi song. Y'all know I don't know. I'm 40, none of your business. So I don't remember. It is, but how does it go though? All right, Brandon, I need you to just drop a quick couple of lines. Oh yeah, okay, okay. But did now real talk, she had another money song that came out recently. Remember? No, she had a money song that came out. I promise you, Brandon's going to find the other money song. Yes, literally. And that's when y'all started talking about money. It made me think of, you know what, exactly. They're looking at me like I'm tripping. Yeah, so Cardi had another money song. Okay, so my point is that when she blew up, that song was all over everywhere. And she was not prepared. She wasn't prepared to be a superstar. She wasn't prepared to be thrust into like the international limelight. And I think because she wasn't ready, she wasn't prepared. And I don't just mean from a business standpoint, I'm talking about emotionally. And so you can see the way that Cardi would engage on social media, like the things that she would do, the shock and awe that she would have by like the non-nice comments that people were making. And it's just like, Cardi, like, why are you surprised that people are commenting on your outfit or commenting on your marriage? And it's really because she wasn't emotionally prepared for the impact of having so many eyes on her. And so I think that she has always felt throughout her career that there are things that she wanted for herself as a woman, and wanting to do and have some of those experiences just for herself, and having to share them not just with her own limelight, but with all of the limelight that comes from her husband. And so I think that it was her way of saying, I'm going to do what I want, when I want, how I want, and that I'm able to announce this child, and I don't have to stay married in order to have this child. Now, the flip side of that is this. Somebody type flip side, because we always have to look. There's two sides to every coin. Can you imagine how Offset felt when Cardi decided to do that? I wonder whether or not he was aware that she was going to do that. And I don't think he was. And so as a man, I'm sure it was very upsetting for him, embarrassing for him to have the state of their marriage to coincide with the announcement of their new child. Now, let's go a little deeper and let's use this culture situation to talk about what we will call collateral damage. And I want to talk about all of the people that are watching right now, all of you all, that have experienced trauma that had nothing to do with you. I want to talk to all of the children that became adults who have had experiences that came by way of your parents working their crap out in unhealthy ways. And now we see a baby, we're talking about underneath this scenario, that is literally being used almost as a pawn in the middle of a situation that's happening in the romantic relationship of her parents. And one of the things I want to do is to say to all of you all that have felt that pressure, that have felt that there's something else rumbling around me, or that I'm being put in a compromising situation, and that I'm being used in a scenario that has nothing to do with me as my parents try to work out their crap. I want to tell you how sorry I am that there were times where your parents took their attention off of you, but at the same time used you to put the focus on the challenges that they were having. And I want to say to every mother and to every father, stop doing that. Stop using your children as a weapon against your other partner. Okay, that is something that children will be able to feel. And also, when this child, their new child, gets older, because of technology, because of the internet, they will become aware possibly of how things were starting even prior to them arriving on the scene. And so the flip side of this is that as a woman, you don't want to use your child as a weapon against your child's father. And to every father, that's not something that you want to do to your child's mother, okay? Let's not use our children as weapons. Amen. Amen. All right, family. So now let's go into Ask Dr. K. All right. So we have 2 questions that people have posed. And so we're going to do like Q&A with Dr. K. So you guys ready? All right. And remember, I do not hear or receive any of these questions ahead of time. So I'm hearing the question the same time you guys are. So it says, how does unresolved trauma manifest physically in the body? These are deep. Y'all be sending deep. And what are some ways to address it? Okay. All right, family. So listen, unresolved trauma is lodged into your physical body, and it needs to find a way to get out. Okay. If you do not allow the pain that you feel to come out of your body, it's going to be lodged within your body. Now, what's a helpful way to remember this is just to simply look at the word disease. And when you look at the word disease, if you break it down, the word means dis-ease. And there is so much research medically that suggests that a lot of people that experience sicknesses, ulcers, things in your digestive system, cancers are coming not just by what's in our food, but what happens when we have stress lodged in our bodies, when too much cortisol, which is a stress hormone, our fight or flight, when our physical bodies are moving like they have to protect you, then when you think about it, if you're bracing yourself for impact, you're going to tighten up and come in like this to protect yourself. But what it looks like is that once the threat is gone, the person releases. When you're always in fight or flight, that means that you're existing every day, every moment like this. And that is a huge amount of cortisol that's coming through your body in an attempt to try to maintain your equilibrium. And that, family, is not safe, okay? Now, the question could be, how do I get it out of my body? And I'm going to tell you one thing that is very simple. And I don't want you to minimize it because you have trauma in your body. You need to talk. You have to find somebody that you can talk to. Talking will bring it up and out of you. Now, oftentimes people don't talk, and especially men won't do it for this very powerful reason, in which I don't judge, I understand. And that is this: if I can't get to a solution or a resolve, then what is the point of me talking about it? And if this person cannot help, then what's the point? Family, it's not about solving it. It's about getting it out of you. You want to get it out. You want to free yourself. And even though you think that no one can help, or you don't think the person can help, or you don't think the person has the resource, you have no idea how much lighter you will feel if you get it out. And as you're sharing, you're going to be able to get an insight that you could not see because of the angle that you were looking at it in. It was too close to you as you were keeping it in. If you go ahead and find a trusted space to talk about it, then as it's coming further away from you, your perspective and how you're viewing it can be different. And then you could possibly realize that you hold the problem, but you also could possibly hold the solution. And so I want to encourage you, talk. You've got to talk more. You don't have to suffer in silence. Also, by way of one more resource, and we can put the link in the description of this episode, there is a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And I want to suggest, I wonder if I do have it. It's literally sitting right here on my table. These are all the books that I swear by that I love. And so we're going to make sure that the link is in the episode description, but it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And it talks about how our traumas lodge in our bodies and gives you a whole lot more examples of what you can do about it. Okay. I hope that was helpful. All right, let's move to the second question. It says, how can I navigate feelings of guilt or shame when setting boundaries with loved ones? That is a really good question. And I'm going to answer it like this. You have to love yourself more than you love your loved ones. You have to start examining if you are the type of individual right now that loves other people more than yourself. We focus on so many things outside of ourselves. We take care of so many things outside of ourselves. And what amazes me is the excellence in which we do those things. We care about the thing, the objective, the organization, the person, the mission, the vision, and we give it our all. But we don't see ourselves as a mission or a vision. And one of the examples that is so concrete that I give my clients all the time is, let me see your schedule for the next 7 days. And it's like, what are you looking for? I'm looking for where you are at in the schedule. I'm looking for where your time is at in this schedule. You do not have to feel guilty by creating boundaries, expectations, parameters for yourself. Even if it's somebody that you love, you are responsible for the nature of your relationships with other people. You cannot take a laid back, laissez-faire, well, that's just how they are. Okay, that is how they are. I'm not suggesting that you try to change how they are. What I'm saying to you is that you do not have to feel guilt or shame by first allowing yourself to accept that I'm not okay with how they are. The way they speak to me, the way they treat me, how I feel when I'm with them, it doesn't feel good to me. That doesn't mean that you feel like you're better than your loved ones. It just means that there's something going on with your soul. It's not matching. And so again, I tell my clients, I'm not looking for you to attempt to try to change other people. What I am encouraging you to do is to not do violence to your own soul in an effort to be respectful, in an effort to not ruffle feathers, in an effort to not mess up the flow. I want you to find a way to champion yourself and do that in a way that's not dishonorable to a loved one, but will ensure that you don't allow yourself to be dishonored. Family, we have to start to see ourselves as worthy. And a lot of the unhealthy relationships that we are in by our own choosing. Now, that is difficult to accept because I want to have a good relationship with my loved ones. But the truth that I'm about to say to you right now is, in this particular case with one of these loved ones, you're not having a good, you want that, but that's not what you're experiencing right now. And if you continue to go in this way without putting a boundary, without having a conversation about what you need, your life is gonna be a hope. What I hope. And it'll never be what I experience. And so I want to encourage you, the same way other people put up boundaries with you, you have the right to have boundaries for yourself. And I want you, if nothing else, and then we're moving to the next segment, I need you to know that you're worthy. I'm going to change the name of this podcast from the Whole You Podcast to the Worthy You Podcast. I need you to know you will not get to a measure of wholeness before you go through the route of worthiness. You have got to realize that you are worthy to have boundaries in your life, okay? I feel like I want to stay there for the next hour, but I don't want to hold you guys too long. And so we did culture codes, right? We did our questions. That was the second one, right? Yes. All right. So now who's ready for the situation room? We've got another situationship this week, and we're going to unpack it together. Okay. So family, this is what it says. Dr. K, I've got a situation. She says, I'm a single mother raising 2 daughters. And I'm terrified that I'm going to pass down the same emotional scars I got from my own mom. She says, growing up, my mother was distant and may as well have been a ghost. And now I'm seeing those same patterns creep up in me. I'll catch myself snapping at my girls for needing me when I'm overwhelmed, or just shutting down entirely because I can't deal with my own emotions, let alone theirs. She says my oldest is starting to mirror me, pulling away, closing off, and it kills me inside. I don't want them to end up like me, but every time I try to change, I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle with my past. My mom still tells me to just get over it whenever I bring up our issues, but I can't, not when I see it affecting my daughters. How do I stop this cycle when it feels like I'm stuck in it myself? You just answered your own question. You said, how do I stop this cycle when I feel like I'm stuck in it myself? The way you stop the cycle is by unsticking yourself. You, my love, need to go into therapy ASAP. You are going to have to go back in order to go forward. The way for you to stop doing to your children what was done to you is by you healing from what has been done to you. Because if you just simply get a couple of processes, phrases that you can say to yourself every time that you get angry, where you're trying to outwardly stop yourself from doing something to your children, that's not going to last. We treat other people the way we treat them based on what's moving in our soul. And so not until you heal from how you experience life as a daughter will you then be able to view your girls with the same purity that you had prior to having the experience that you had with your own mother. And I'll give you an example quickly about why that's a real thing. There are times where, for example, you can have a child, and let's say their parent was an alcoholic, and they knew what it felt like for them as a child to have their parent come home intoxicated, the abuse that their parent might have done verbally or even physically when they were intoxicated, the embarrassment that they felt. Also, for a child, the fear that they felt seeing their parent in that condition. And you swore to yourself as a child that you would never drink because you did not want to move the way you saw your parent move. And then all of a sudden, you find yourself in the same scenario. A lot of times, my love, we end up repeating even the thing that we say that we hated. That is the reason why I'm saying to you, you're going to have to go back in order to go forward. And you're going to have to find out by way of investigation, possibly even why your mother was moving the way that she was moving. And then find out what it is that's going on in you that is causing you to move the way that you're. The issue is not so much how you're speaking to your children. The issue, my love, is how you feel when you're doing it. What's going on with you? What's in your heart? Where do you feel burden? Fear is happening with you. And until you start to be able to unpack all of that, what I don't want you to do is find a couple of stolen moments where you're able to keep it together, but yet in your soul, you're not together. As you become a healthy woman, it will be very easy to be a healthy mother. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do. And in order to do that, you're going to have to be willing to go back, to go forward. Get off of that cycle, and there will therefore not be any more cycles. Okay? So I hope that that was helpful. So fam, it's time to say goodbye again, but we are going to be back. I'm committed to making sure that this pod is available for you at least once a week for right now. I'm excited about you tuning in. To every single person that has subscribed to the YouTube channel, welcome. But I want you to make sure that you share. I want to make sure that you like it. I want to make sure that you hit that subscription link. I want you to be a part of this community. The other thing I want to tell you guys so that you're aware, as things pop up in culture, we're going to speak about it, hopefully in real time. So even though we're going to be dropping the pod at pretty consistent days every week, there will be times where if there's something hot and popping going on in culture, Dr. K is going to come on and we're going to talk about it, okay? And some of those pods might even possibly be live in the future. And so I just want you to get ready. Also, if you have any questions, I want you to send those in. If you have any situations going on, I want you to send them to me. Maybe you're just thinking, I would love to see what a therapist would say about this. Send it in to me. The information of where to send it is right on the screen. And again, I'm just excited about us being able to take this journey together. And so in this episode, I wanted to tell you about what I've experienced to be a whole me. And I'm hoping that that will in turn give you the courage to be a whole you. Welcome to the Whole You podcast. We'll see you next episode.